Now, artificial intelligence has become increasingly accessible in daily life, posing a range of challenges to the workforce and the digital economy. One of the fastest growing tools is an AI text program known as ChatGPT. In simple terms, ChatGPT is an online chatbot, a piece of technology that can generate thousands of words within seconds in response to requests from users. It's powerful enough to write essays or documents indistinguishable from the work of a human being, and complex enough to create poetry or music. A fortnight ago, in a first for Australian politics, ChatGPT made its way onto the floor of Parliament.
The former Australian Liberal federal government made significant contributions to the growth and development of the digital economy. These initiatives have paved the way for a bright future and have positioned Australia as a leader in the digital world. Now, Deputy Speaker, this may be a first for federal Parliament, but that last paragraph came directly from artificial intelligence chatbot ChatGPT. And that's the reality of the world we now live in. We have access to next-level technology, such as AI chatbots, that allow us to ask questions and get instant answers that are scarily human-like.
Let's go live now to that Liberal MP who delivered the speech. Aaron Violi joins me live from Melbourne. Aaron, thanks for your time. Why did you raise this issue as a concern?
Thanks. It's great to be here, Kieran. So that speech that I was talking about was it's calling on the government to reintroduce a minister for the digital economy. So the previous coalition government had Senator Jane Hume as the minister, who set out a digital strategy to 2030, and the current government doesn't have a minister to make sure that we're looking at this holistically. And I used that speech and that example just to show how much ChatGPT and how quick technology has developed and the threats that it has, but also the opportunities for us as a country.
So let's start with the threats. They seem pretty obvious. If you look at schooling, for example, or university, how would a lecturer or teacher know that someone's plagiarised? It's almost impossible to detect, isn't it?
It is almost impossible to detect, and that's one of the questions we need to ask. And many states are banning ChatGPT at the moment, and for myself, I believe that's a head-in-the-sand strategy. It's the equivalent to banning the internet in the 90s, and the reality is that these tools are going to become more advanced. They're going to be used more often by all Australians, particularly students. And what we need to be doing is educating students so they understand the potential of how to use them, but also look at the sources and be able to critically analyse where this information has come from. Is it reliable? And can they use that for positive? And we need to acknowledge that the world is moving into this space. Many law firms are now having associates actually use ChatGPT to start the research they need to do. We need to equip students and have a strategy, as I said, whether it's education, whether it's the digital economy, to make sure that we're getting the benefits of this technology.
Can you give our viewers a sense of how effective it is? Is it foolproof essentially? Or does it make mistakes like other AI that I've seen in terms of trying to predict people's bio or whatever else can make mistakes? What about this?
It does. You're correct, Kieran. It still does make mistakes, and it's not foolproof, and it never will be. We're always going to need that human element, which is really important, and that's why it's an asset that we need to harness and understand. And a lot of the detail is incorrect, and that's one of the challenges with the current format. But it's developing very quickly. So we do see when many examples of AI answering exams, it's probably at a C level. So that's still really high for technology. You're always going to need that human element to it as well, and that's why I believe we should have a strategy and have some frameworks on how we can use this in the education system.
So with those frameworks, is there any technology that you know of that schools, that universities can use to guard against the misuse of AI?
Not at the moment, and that's one of the things. But even the referencing systems, you can use the AI to make sure that it's referencing sources in the correct. I'm having flashbacks to my university days where you've got to make sure you get the commas in the right place, and AI allows you to do that. So it is creating challenges for educators, and that's why I believe we need to lean into this and have a conversation and acknowledge that it exists. And even if we ban it, students will find a way to get around those bans. So bring it into the system, as I said, much like the internet, and have good frameworks on how students can use it as a starting point, but how they learn to critically analyse the information that ChatGPT or the internet and social media is providing to them, and how they can use that to use their own critical analysis to come up with a better position than what the technology has started with.
Yeah, well, it's certainly a very interesting space. We'll keep an eye on it. Let's talk quickly. I know you're from the seat of Casey, not far from Aston. You know that area well. Will the Liberals be able to hold on to the seat at the upcoming by-election?
I mean, as Peter Dutton said, by-elections are always tough, and we've got a challenge, but we're very fortunate, and the people of Aston are really fortunate to have a great candidate in Rashina Campbell. I've known Rashina for many years, and she's a great advocate. She'll be an amazing advocate for Aston. We've seen in the Outer East that the Labor government have abandoned us, whether it's the Wellington Road duplication that impacts my electorate of Casey, but also Aston. They took $110 million out of that project. They've taken money out of Dorset Road, money out of Napoleon Road. Significant infrastructure funding has been ripped out of the Outer East, and the ALP will say many things during this campaign, but it's clear that they don't care about the public in Aston, in Casey, in Deakin. They've shown that Latrobe through their actions, and I would warn those voters in Aston as well. This government have rushed through this by-election for the 1st of April, and why they've done that before the May budget is really a warning to all those voters in Aston that there's no doubt some interesting news coming in the budget, I'd say, for all Australians.
And in saying that, is the discussion around superannuation something that's resonating in Aston, even though the government seems to be suggesting any change would be at the higher end of capping the amount that people can have in their super funds?
Yeah, definitely. In my electorate, I was in the office this morning. We've had quite a number of calls from residents in Casey really concerned about the proposed changes that the kite that the Treasurer has flown, and he likes to fly a lot of kites, and that's primarily because he doesn't have a plan to address the cost of living challenges that all Australians have. But this is also what he does. He flies a kite like this with superannuation, and it gets people worried, and they're nervous because they know that this is just the start of this conversation that the Treasurer is talking about. But it might start potentially at 3 million, but that's not where this government will end it, because they look to spend taxpayer money, they look to spend the Australian public's money, and they want to come after people's superannuation. So people in Casey are nervous and worried about this kite flying exercise. They've been reaching out, as I said today, and I've got no doubt that the voters in Aston are nervous about it as well, and that's why we need a great local member like Rashina Campbell, who will be fighting hard and will always be in the corner of the residents of Aston.